Wouldn't it be cool if you could have all your own custom branded merch? The problem is creating gis, short, rash guards, t-shirts, all of that other kind of stuff ties up a ton of your cash flow. And that can be a real headache, particularly if you run into an unexpected bill. Until you sell that gear, you can't release the cash from it. And that is a big, big problem for most school owners. However, what if there was another way? What if there was a way you could get custom gear made and never tie up any of your cash doing it? I want to show you exactly how we do that in our gym. My name is Tom Barlow, and along with my wife, I run Escapology BJJ in Cambridge. We are one of the most successful schools in the area, and we regularly use this method to create our own custom gear, and it's very, very successful. It's something that you've probably heard of, but may not have thought about ever doing. It's called pre-orders. This is a number of big businesses. There's a famous one in the jiu-jitsu community who got very successful using this tactic. And what it allows you to do is sell the product before ever investing any of your money into it. And that's powerful for gyms. I want to show you exactly how we did it and the results that we got. So we recently did a pre-order with Scramble. Scramble have started doing a custom gi product. So you supply them with a design and they go and create it. Okay, perfect. Really works really, really well. What we did is we did a pre-order on this. Our initial pre-order came out to 29 gis. Now of those gis, that generated about £1,500 in profit, which is not too bad for 29 gis. We then ran a second pre-order. The second pre-order, we sold 20 gis and generated around about £1,000 in profit. But we tied up none of our cash doing this. Every single one of those gis went to somebody straight away as soon as it was delivered. That's an amazing thing for a gym to be able to do. Now there's a few things that you need to make this process happen. Firstly, you need some students who want to buy stuff. That's going to be really, really important. The second thing is you need a gi design. This doesn't have to be super fancy. It just needs to show people approximately what it looks like. You're going to need some kind of pre-order page as well. And you're going to need a really, really solid communication channel. The reason that you need that communication channel is any hiccups that happen, you need to keep your students or the purchasers informed. That's really, really important. For example, in our first pre-order, we were like the test subjects for Scramble, and there were a lot of hiccups on the way. It wasn't a particularly smooth process, took a little bit longer than we expected to happen. But our ability to communicate with our students allowed us to tell them what was going on, give them up-to-date updates on when they would be expecting their gi, and it meant that none of them asked for a refund. Okay. The other important thing is if you don't get to a minimum quantity, which is something that most businesses will say that you have to do for any kind of custom merchandise, you can just refund everybody their money and just say, look, unfortunately we weren't able to do it this time, we'll look to do it again in the future. Problem solved. And again, not tied up any of your capital, create a little bit of goodwill in your gym, which is really, really awesome. Now, I want to show you our sales page. We used a company called GymDesk who do all of our kind of back end stuff. They're great, really easy for our students to use, in fact, anybody in the world. And this is exactly what it looked like. So as you can see, it's pretty basic. There's not a lot of information on there. I made up, I can't do it without hovering over this, but I made up this image. It kind of looked like what the gi was supposed to look like, okay? You know, and that's all it needs to be. It wasn't perfect. In fact, from when we initially set this idea up, we changed the base gi that we were using so it looks a little bit different. But it gives people a visual representation of what they are going to be getting, and it looks kind of cool, and it looks a little bit more professional. The other thing that we added in is this little bit of like information about the gi, you know, and the sizings and all of those kind of stuff. We could throw this up on our social media and push it out to our students a little bit, and it gives them a good feel for what's going on. You got to have a way, different sizes that people have available. You have to be a way to do that, and then obviously you need a way for people to pay that. So that's what it looked like. Our second pre-order, we got some kind of more fancy photos done. This is me looking excellent in our gi. Looks really, really cool. As you can see, there's my face. And from the two images, you can see there's a couple of subtle differences that happened. You know, this is me in the gym. See, there's a little bit of a back patch up there, but honestly, it came out looking amazing. Really, really awesome job. And obviously, with this as well, there were a few little things that we were kind of worried about, like we'd never use like a vinyl print and whatnot. So before we did our second pre-order, we made sure that that was thoroughly tested to see if it would held up, and it held up amazingly. Okay, so that's our pre-order page. Very, very simple, clean, allowed our students to jump on there and order the gis. You can also see the price of the gis as well, which is the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So there are a couple of considerations when you do this. The first one is I kind of mentioned it earlier, but any company is going to require a minimum quantity. For Scramble, that was 20 units, it's just quite easy to fulfill. But if we hadn't hit that number on our pre-orders, we just wouldn't have done it, okay? Because we know there's not enough interest in that product, and there's no benefit in us tying up that capital to do this. Okay, so when we hit 20 pre-orders, we knew we were good to go, and we sent off the order. You have to have like a start and an end date. Okay, that's really, really important. You know, you need a point where people can purchase it, and then you shut it down. Okay, because it's a pre-order, because you have to put the pre-orders in to the company, in this case Scramble. We did it in our second pre-order. We did it as a week. I think it was a week or 10 days. So we opened it up, said, hey, look, we're running this order again. This is the date we need it in by. Anything after that date won't get sent through to them, and we'll just refund people. No one bought afterwards, which is thankful, but we didn't. That's the general idea. It's a really cool idea because it creates a very definite start and end point, adds a little bit of scarcity to what you're doing. The next thing you need to consider is the cost of your gi should cover production costs, it should cover any tax or VAT or anything like that, and it should generate you revenue as well. You know, people spend hundreds of pounds on their gis daily, and that profit, that income goes to the gi manufacturer. Okay, in this situation, you are essentially the gi manufacturer, and it's important that you make something out of it. After all, you can reinvest that income into your gym. You can use it to replace mats. You're going to have these things. This is capital that you need to keep pushing your gym forwards and getting it as professional as possible. Okay, the markup on your gi can be whatever you like. You know, a very cheap, you know, for example, the Scramble standard issue, I think is 69 or 75 quid. That's at least the base minimum you want to go. Because you're doing a custom gi with custom, you know, embroidery, all of that kind of stuff, you can increase that price if you want to. For us, we settled on a fair price of £99 because, you know, we had a ton of customization to that as well. And it was a good gi. It's a really nice looking gi. The next thing that you have to do when you're doing this idea is make the time frame very, very well known. It has to be super, super clear. I mentioned that our time frame was, you know, we had a clear start and end date of when we were doing our pre-orders. You also want to make it clear how long it's going to take to come through. Now, our first order was a little bit ropey because everybody was setting up the process. We were the first people that Scramble were doing this. This is the first production one. So we had quite a long window, and we made our students aware of that. Our second one, we knew it was going to be a lot smoother. Everybody had the design, they knew what was happening, so we could say, you'll get this in about 2 weeks, okay, which is what Scramble say they'll do it in, which is really cool, okay. The next thing is pre-orders really work best if they're exclusive, okay. You can do it for regular products if you're going to keep continually stocking something, but you'll get a lower turnaround. Okay, because so you know, if I'm going to do, like, if you want to pre-order it, cool, but we'll have these in stock later. There's no kind of urgency to buy. And if you look at models that do pre-orders, there's always this kind of scarcity element, this urgency element of like, get it now or it might be gone forever. And that's what we do with most of our products. We produce something once and then that's it, it's gone. You know, you can't ever get it again, which for us is a really important thing in our business because we have to have that continual turnaround because we can't hold a ton of stock and we need that capital coming in, going out, just as most small businesses do as well. The next thing that we decided to do is, because we'd had quite a long time between our first pre-order and our second pre-order, between the first pre-order and the gis coming in, we decided to do a second pre-order. I knew this would be a smaller quantity of people because we'd already got everybody to do that, but I was like, look, you know, we've had more students come in, let's open this second chance to people. Okay, that's not necessarily something I would do every time, but because of this big time difference between the two, it worked really, really well. Okay, and it allowed us to get another 20 orders of the gis from people who had missed out on that first opportunity. So that's the kind of general way that this works. And as I said earlier, from these 2 orders, we generated £2,500 without spending any of our own money initially. We didn't tie up any of our capital, didn't do anything like that. All that happened is once the geese were made, we Scramble sent them out, they invoiced me, boom, and I gave them out to my students and kept whatever difference there was between the two. Worked fantastically. One other consideration, which is something that we always do, or try to always do with our co-branding stuff, with our custom merchandise stuff, is we co-brand. Okay, I've mentioned this kind of a few times. So co-branding is a really powerful idea and it adds extra value to your product. So if I said I was making like an Escapology gi, they'd be like, my students would be like, that's cool, you know, okay, cool. We know that you guys mostly make really good quality stuff. I'm in. But if I say we're doing a co-brand with Escapology, with Scramble, that add extra value to it. Scramble have a great brand reputation. You know, the product quality is fantastic. You can kind of, I'm going to use the word leech, off their brand to make what you're creating seem more valuable. We've done the same thing with our no-gi stuff as well. We co-branded it and increased our kind of the perceived value of it. So that's a very powerful thing. And we do it with all kinds of different products. We do it with like water bottles, like everything that we can think of. We look at ways that we can kind of co-brand because it helps everybody out as well. You know, it pushes out for the company, in this case Scramble, it pushed them out more into our students' perception, into their kind of frame of reference. It allowed them to experience like what Scramble products like, and for us we got that extra added value incentive on the back end of it. Okay, so that's essentially what we do, how we we generate our own custom merch without doing any kind of outlay. It works incredibly well, providing you kind of set these steps up and have that clear communication path. Works like gangbusters and can really make a big difference in your gym. I mean, how often can you say that you made £2,500 without actually really spending any of your own money? Very, very rarely. Okay, that's a good return on investment in my opinion, and it can definitely help a lot of gyms out there do the same kind of thing.